communication. Well, welcome today. Thank you for tuning into this live with me. And today I want to talk about wearing correct clothing fit. And why do I want to talk about this today? Well, think about a time when you went shopping, you bought an outfit, you rushed in, tried it on, got it home, tried it on again, and found out that it actually really didn't fit you that well. And that's awful because not only have you wasted your time, it means you've then got to go and take that back to the shop, and depending on what the refund policy is, you may not be able to get it refunded, or you'll have to exchange it for something else. And that's so important when you're thinking about clothing fit. You know, a lot of the times you go out and you think you just want to quickly buy an outfit. So today I want to just really talk about why it's give you some tips on why it's important to be thinking about clothing tip. And in the long run, you're not then worrying about when you're buying something, what you need to do. I mean, and I think a lot of the times when we do go shopping to buy clothing and you're buying something off the rack, you often think if it's off the rack, it should fit you. And more times often than not, as we find, it doesn't fit. It may not fit in a particular place. And then you find that you may not wear that garment. And if you don't take it back in time, that's money wasted on that particular garment. And don't worry about why it doesn't fit you, because many times when garments are being made, they're using models that are not your measurements. So it's not your fault that it doesn't fit you. We have these size guidelines, but everyone comes in different shapes and sizes, and things fit differently in different places. So I just wanted to give you a few tips today that when you are out shopping and you're thinking about buying clothing, you want to make sure that the clothing fit you, because even if you're spending a whole ton of money on clothes and it's great quality, if it doesn't fit you, if it fits you poorly, it ends up looking like it's something cheap, although you probably spent a lot of money on it. So to ensure that you get more of a bargain for the fit of your clothes, here are some tips on how, when you're looking for clothing, what to do. So number one, ensure that when you are trying on clothing, it's not too tight, it's not too loose. And the reason why you don't want it to go either way, you really want clothing to be skimming your body silhouette, and you don't want clothing to be too tight or too loose, is because usually a lot of the times it can add pounds to you unnecessarily. And who wants to add extra pounds to them? Nobody does. So when you have clothing that skims your body silhouette, it fits you so much nicer when it's not too tight and not too loose. When you are looking to buy a suit, a coat, or even a pair of pants, I always suggest that you wear clothing, you fit clothing to the biggest part of your body. So for example, if you're buying some pants, fit the pants to your hips first, and even if it's too big at the waist, you can get the waist taken in. Same way, like if you're buying a jacket, you could get the shoulders fit first, and then everything else could be taken in. It's really important to think about alterations, because that way, at least something that, if you get them altered, it looks like it's something that could be custom made just for your particular body type, and it just makes such a huge difference. And if you have that disparity where your top and your bottom is quite a range, you could look at buying separates. So whereas, if you were, say, for example, a size 11 or a 12 top, but you're, say, a size 8 bottom, you could buy, instead of, say, buying a suit, if they sell them in separates. Or it could be that you may even consider getting suits, for example, custom made, so that they are fitting to your particular measurements, if you find that they're not coming in separates and it's too problematic to alter the clothing. You could also, when you're thinking about clothing, it's buying things, that are long enough for you. So when you're looking at jackets and coats, making sure that they're in proportion with your body height. So, for example, if you are a taller person, you can get away with wearing jackets that are further down your body, coats that are further down your body, because you've got that length that you can go for it and wear something longer. Whereas if you're shorter, if you're wearing something that's really long, it can make you look even shorter, because that's cutting you in. It's cutting you in half, so to speak. So you'd be better off wearing jackets that are higher up your body, because it looks more in proportion to your height, rather than anything that's drowning you out because it's too long. Also thinking about the sleeve lengths when you're wearing jackets, shirts. Usually, it's up to you in terms of what sleeve lengths and time of year, of course. Now, time of year, it's summer, so you're probably wanting to go for shorter sleeve lengths or 3/4 lengths. But if you are wearing something that is a long sleeve, then I would advise you to wear something that goes down to your collar, to your wrist bone, rather, so that it just looks that bit more professional. It doesn't look too like it's just too short. Otherwise, if not, it's looking like it could be a 3/4 length when you don't necessarily mean it to be. Another thing you can really be thinking about is making sure that your pants are long enough when you're wearing pants. So depending on the length, especially if they're wide length pants, for women who are wearing wide length pants, and say, for example, if you're wearing heels, the length of the pants or trousers, rather, they can really, usually I would say the ends of them could be to the middle of your heel, so that they don't look too short. Because sometimes if you're wearing a long pair of pants, and then if you're even wearing high heels, they can look like they're coming up to your ankles, when really you want them to lay nicely. So if you aim for the length to be in the middle of your heel, if you're wearing if you're wearing no heels and shoes that are flats, and for men, that you can afford for the pants to be a little bit higher up, because you don't need to really take into account any heels. Another thing to think about, especially if you live in a cooler climate like I do here in Canada, and it's mainly winter most of the year, it feels like, don't underestimate your coat, because when someone sees you in a coat or a jacket and you live in a cooler climate, that is the first thing that they will see you. So again, I know sometimes if you live in, if it's winter and it's -30, you're more about comfort and keeping warm. But bearing in mind, when you are meeting people, you do want to ensure that you are wearing a nice jacket or a coat that does fit you correctly. So ensuring, again, like a jacket, wearing the right length, that if you are shorter, you can get away with wearing a shorter jacket in height. But if you are taller in height, you can wear a longer coat. I, in the winter, do love to wear a really long coat, because it's freezing here. And, I can certainly get away with wearing a longer coat as I am taller. And another thing to really think about is that when you are wearing clothes, say, for example, if you're wearing a shirt and you like to tuck it in, sure that if your clothes are tucked into, either if you're a woman, you're wearing a skirt, or even tucked into pants, you're a man or woman wearing pants and you're tucking in a shirt or a top, ensuring that it's long enough, so that, say, for example, if you do bend over, it's not going to come out, or it doesn't look too ruffled, it looks neater. And again, for example, any clothing that if you need to bend down or lean over, that the clothing fits you in a way that skin isn't being exposed, because you don't want that unfortunate thing where someone can see your underwear, for example. That isn't something that you may want to be putting on display if you're in the office. And the last thing that I would say is that when you are in the fitting room and you're trying on clothing, if at all possible, if you can go for something that is a three-way mirror where you can not only look at the front of you, but you're looking at the side and the back of you, so you can see how the clothing fits you in all angles. Because sometimes when you say, for example, looking in the mirror and you're looking at the front and it looks great at the front, but then you may find the fit at the back isn't quite what you want. It could be too big or it could be too small. And then sometimes when you're trying to look, when you're turning around trying to look from the back, it doesn't work. So if at all possible, a three-way mirror is the best, as you can look at yourself from all angles. And then that way it just stops it just stops you from, it lets you see before you get the garment home whether it fits you how you would like it to look. So clothing fit is so important because, as I said, it can really determine what could be defined as quality of clothing. Because no matter how much you've paid for something, if something is poorly fit and it doesn't look, if it's poorly fit, it means that it may not look so great on you, and therefore, you could come off as looking unprofessional, at work, or even in a social environment. You really want to be making sure that the clothing is fitting you so that you're feeling much more comfortable and that you're saving your time. You don't want to get home from the store and then find that you've bought something for a particular occasion. You then go and try it on and then you realize, it doesn't fit properly. So then you don't have time to go and get something else. And then, or, if it's something that you've bought in the sale, a lot of sales, may not have that return policy. So you've wasted money on something. So it's so crucial to really be thinking about how clothing is fitting you. So that's it today. So it's ensuring that clothing is not too tight or too loose, that when you're wearing jackets or coats, that they're long enough, they're in proportion with your body, that when you're wearing pants, they're long enough, that if you're wearing a heel, that they fit into the middle of your heel, or if you're wearing flats, you can wear them a little bit higher up. Ensuring that your sleeves, if they're long sleeves, are reaching your wrist bone. And then finally, that the tip of when you are trying clothing on in the store, use a 3-length mirror. If you would like to get more of an idea of how your fit and clothing can look good on you and get some more tips from me, do get in contact with me. I offer 30-minute complimentary image strategy sessions. You can find the contact form on my website, charmainebryan.com. You can get in touch, we can have a chat, we can talk about your requirements. I thank you for tuning into this live today. I will not be here next week, but I will be back the following week. And I look forward to seeing you then. And I will post the link to my website in the comments. Anyway, see you again. Thanks for tuning in.